Imagine this. For 50 years, women were told they didn't need men, that men were the problem, that masculinity itself was toxic, that every guy who held a door open was secretly oppressing them, that every man who dared to sit with his knees apart on a subway was committing an act of violence called manspreading. They were told they could have it all: the career, the independence, the endless validation, the government checks, the simp economy, the corporate ladder built on diversity quotas, all of it without ever having to deal with the creature known as the accountable man. And for a while it worked. Men were shamed into silence, taxed into oblivion, regulated into submission, and guilt tripped into paying for dinners they were never invited to finish. But then something happened that nobody on the blue check feminist timeline saw coming. Men listened. Men actually listened. And when men listen for long enough, they eventually do exactly what they're told. They walked away. And now, right now, as you're watching this video in 2025, women are standing in the wreckage of the world they demanded, looking around and realizing for the first time in their lives that the emperor was never the man. The emperor was them. And she's got no clothes. Stay until the very end because I'm going to show you the raw numbers, the dating app data, the job loss statistics, and the cold, hard reality of what happens when an entire society tells half its population, we don't need you, and that half finally says, bet. And if you're here for the truth, delivered with zero sugar coating and maximum Red Bull energy, smash that like button right now, share this video with every man you know who's waking up, and subscribe because the Angry Guy channel is the last place on this platform where men are allowed to hear the truth out loud. And listen, if you want to protect everything you're building in this collapsing economy, if you want to learn how to actually buy, sell, trade, and safeguard your crypto so the government and your ex can't touch it, go click the link in the description and join Angry's Crypto Academy today. We've already got thousands of men in there stacking coins while the fiat world burns. The Academy is waiting for you. Link below. Go get enrolled right now. And if these videos are hitting you in the chest the way they should be, if they're waking you up or lighting a fire under you, show some love and buy me a Red Bull. The link is in the description. It's literally $3 and it keeps this channel alive and uncensored. I appreciate every single one of you that throws a can my way. Now let's get into the meat of this. I want you to picture a timeline. Go back to 2010, 2012, maybe 2014. Back when the average man still believed that if he just worked hard enough, hit the gym hard enough, made enough money, listened to her feelings hard enough, he would eventually be rewarded with a woman who appreciated him. Back when the average guy would swipe his card at dinner, Venmo her half the rent just until her next paycheck, buy the plane tickets, fix her car, listen to her complain about her boss for 4 hours, and still get told, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now, but you're such a great friend. Back when every third Instagram post from a woman in her 20s was some version of men are trash, followed by 100 heart emojis from her orbiters, liking the post while simultaneously begging for a crumb of attention in her DMs. That was the peak of the simp economy. That was the golden age of female hypergamy on steroids. And it all rested on one single assumption: that men would never, ever stop showing up. That men would keep working the dangerous jobs, keep paying the majority of taxes, keep inventing everything, keep fighting the wars, keep fixing the infrastructure, and keep pretending they were happy to do it all in exchange for the privilege of being called toxic while they wrote the check. But here's the thing about assumptions: they only work until the people you're assuming about decide to assume something different. And that's exactly what happened. Around 2017, 2018, 2019, something shifted. You could see it in the data first if you were paying attention. Marriage rates started dropping off a cliff. Birth rates followed. The percentage of men under 30 who reported having no sex in the past year went from 10% in 2008 to almost 30% by 2019. And it's way higher now. Men started spending more time gaming, more time in the gym, more time building online businesses, more time stacking crypto, more time traveling alone, and way less time chasing women who treated them like walking ATMs with anxiety. The manosphere didn't create this shift. The manosphere simply named it. Men didn't wake up one day and decide to hate women. Men woke up one day and realized they didn't have to hate themselves anymore. And when a man stops hating himself, he starts making very different decisions about where he spends his time, his money, and his life force. Fast forward to 2025, and the results are undeniable. Dating apps are graveyards for the average woman over 28. Tinder's own internal data that got leaked a couple years ago showed that the top 10% of men get 90% of the right swipes from women, which means the bottom 90% of men are basically invisible. But here's what nobody talked about. Men stopped caring. Men deleted the apps. Men stopped messaging first. Men stopped double texting. Men stopped offering to take her out when she was clearly never going to sleep with them anyway. The simp industrial complex collapsed almost overnight, not because men ran out of money, but because men ran out of willingness to set themselves on fire to keep someone else warm who kept calling them the arsonist. And women felt it immediately. You can go on TikTok right now and watch thousands of videos of women in their late 20s and 30s asking the same question with increasing desperation. Where have all the good men gone? They'll spin every possible excuse. Men are intimidated by my success. Men can't handle a strong woman. All the good ones are taken. But they never, ever say the real reason. Because to say the real reason would require looking in the mirror and admitting that for 2 decades, they collectively told men, we don't need you, and then got furious when men believed them. Now, layer on top of this the economic destruction that's happening in real time. We are watching the greatest wealth transfer in human history, except it's not going to women, it's going away from everyone who isn't already in the top 1%. Inflation has crushed the middle class. Real wages adjusted for inflation are lower than they were in the 1970s for most people. A one-bedroom apartment in any major city now costs more than the average man's entire take-home pay. And who is getting hit the hardest by all of this? Women. Because for 50 years, women built their economic strategy around three pillars: the state, the simp, and the corporate diversity hire. All three of those pillars are crumbling at the exact same time. Let's start with the state. The government that spent decades replacing husbands with welfare checks, replacing fathers with child support enforcement, replacing male taxpayers with endless deficit spending, is now completely broke. The United States is $36 trillion in debt and adding another $2 trillion every single year. Social Security is projected to be insolvent by 2033. Medicare is worse. The money printer that funded the independent woman lifestyle is out of ink, and there is no political will to raise taxes on the actual rich people because they own the politicians. So who gets squeezed? The middle class man who's already paying 40 to 50% of his income in taxes and getting told he's privileged for it. That man is done. He's not paying for her lifestyle anymore. He's going galt. He's working just enough to cover his own life and stacking the rest in assets the government can't touch. Next pillar, the simp. We already covered this, but let's drive the nail a little deeper. The average man today would rather spend $400 on a new graphics card or a weekend fishing trip with his boys than spend $40 buying drinks for a woman who's going to text her friends, "This guy is boring," from the bathroom 10 minutes in. OnlyFans was supposed to be the final evolution of the simp economy. Women thought they could just sit in their bedroom, take some pictures, and retire on the loneliness of a million men. And for about 18 months, it worked. Then men woke up again. Subscription cancellations are through the roof. The top 0.1% of creators still make millions, but the mid-tier and low-tier girls are making less than they would at Target. And Target doesn't require them to degrade themselves on camera. The simp is dead. Long live the man who kept himself. Third pillar, the corporate diversity hire. This one is going to hurt the most over the next 5 years, and it's already starting. AI is coming for every job that involves routine cognitive work, which just happens to be the exact jobs that women flooded into over the past 30 years. human resources, marketing, public relations, middle management, administrative roles, anything that involves writing emails, scheduling meetings, making PowerPoint decks, or shuffling spreadsheets is being replaced right now. ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, all of them are already better at those jobs than the average college educated woman who spent 4 years studying gender studies and communications. Companies are not going to keep paying 100 grand a year for a senior director of inclusive excellence when an AI can do the same compliance paperwork for pennies. The layoffs have already begun. You think it's a coincidence that the tech industry laid off 260,000 people in 2023 and another 200,000 in 2024? And the vast majority of those layoffs were in non-technical roles filled predominantly by women? That's not a coincidence. That's the future arriving ahead of schedule. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. So now women are in a position they have literally never been in throughout all of human history. They are facing economic hardship without a male population that is willing to bail them out. For the first time ever, women are going to have to compete in a truly free market where nobody gets points for being a woman, where nobody is forced to hire them to meet a diversity quota, where nobody is shamed into dating them out of fear of being called a bigot, and where the government checks are getting smaller every year and they are panicking. You can hear it in their voices on social media. You can see it in the rising rates of anxiety and depression medication among young women. You can read it in the articles with headlines like, "The end of men was supposed to be great, so why are women so miserable?" And the answer is simple: because the end of men was never the goal. The goal was to have all the benefits of men without any of the responsibilities of dealing with them. The goal was to keep men working and paying and protecting and providing while women got to live like spoiled teenagers well into their 30s and 40s. And for a little while it worked. But every con has an expiration date, and this one just hit it. Now let's slow the frame down and really look at what panic actually sounds like when it starts pouring out of a group that has never had to feel it before. Go open TikTok, type in "where are all the good men," and just watch the flood. You'll see women who still have the ring light perfectly angled, still have the Stanley Cup in frame, still have the fake eyelashes fluttering like they're about to take flight. But the voice is different now. The voice cracks. The laugh is forced. The eyes keep darting off camera like they're waiting for someone to come save them from having to finish the sentence. "I have a master's degree. I make six figures. I go to therapy. I have a skincare routine. I voted for the right people. So why am I alone?" And then the comments underneath are brutal. Not because men are being mean, but because men are simply no longer pretending. The top comment will be some variation of, "You told us you didn't need us, so we left. Enjoy the peace and quiet you demanded." And she can't argue with it because it's true, and truth has a way of cutting through ring light filters like a blowout hairstyles, like they're made of tissue paper. I want you to really sit with that for a second. An entire generation of women spent their prime years being told that male attention was a human right, that male provision was a form of reparations, that male sacrifice was the default setting of the universe. They were told that complaining about men was a personality, that shaming men was activism, that demanding everything while offering nothing in return was empowerment. And the whole time, they actually believed the backup plan would always be there. That no matter how nasty they got, no matter how many times they swiped left on good men, no matter how many ick lists they posted, no matter how many times they bragged about being high value while living in a studio apartment with 5 cats and $60,000 in student debt for a sociology degree, men would still show up with the ring, the house, the protection, the provision, the emotional labor, physical labor, all of it, because that's what men had always done. For thousands of years, men showed up. Through wars, plagues, famines, depressions, men still built, still protected, still provided. So why would this time be any different? Except this time is different. This time men watched. This time men learned. This time men looked at their fathers who worked 60 hours a week just to get divorce papered and alienated from their own children. They looked at their uncles who paid alimony until they were 70. They looked at their friends who got Me Too'd out of careers for telling a joke in 2012. They looked at the statistics. 80% of divorces initiated by women, 90% of custody going to women, 97% of alimony paid by men, 100% of workplace deaths being men, 80% of suicides being men. And then they looked at the culture that told them none of that sacrifice mattered because patriarchy. And something inside the male psyche snapped, not in anger, but in clarity. A cold, calm, razor sharp clarity that said, if everything I do is going to be punished anyway, then I choose me. And that, brothers, is the moment the game ended. Not with a bang, not with some big public protest, not with violence or yelling in the streets. It ended quietly. It ended when millions of men simply stopped participating. They stopped proposing. They stopped pursuing. They stopped pedestalizing. They stopped paying for dates. They stopped offering to help with rent. They stopped replying to hey, big head texts at 2 a.m. They stopped caring about being called bitter or insecure or fragile or toxic. They just stopped. And when enough men stop, the entire system that was built on their forced participation starts to shake. You can see the earthquake happening right now in every metric that matters. Home ownership among single men under 40 is now higher than single women for the first time in recorded history. Why? Because men stopped buying houses big enough for a family that was never going to show up. Men started buying small condos, mountain cabins, vans, boats, land in the middle of nowhere, anything that gives them peace and keeps the government and the X out. Single men are now the fastest growing demographic of new motorcycle owners, new gun owners, new crypto investors, new gym memberships, new passports. Men are traveling alone, eating alone, thriving alone, and discovering something women never thought possible, that life without the constant drama, criticism, and financial extraction of modern dating is actually peaceful. Like luxuriously peaceful. Like wake up at noon, hit the gym, cook a ribeye, play some Call of Duty, stack some Bitcoin, go to sleep without anyone telling you the temperature is wrong or that you breathe too loud, peaceful. Meanwhile, women are discovering the flip side of that peace, and it's called terror. Because peace for men right now means isolation for women. And isolation is hitting them in ways nobody prepared them for. Loneliness rates among young women have absolutely exploded since 2020. The CDC now says women under 30 are twice as likely as men to report chronic loneliness. Twice. The same women who spent years bragging about being independent and not needing a man are now making TikToks crying into ring lights because their group chat went silent on a Saturday night. The same women who said, I don't cook, I don't clean, but still I got the ring, are now realizing the ring was never coming in the first place because the men who used to give out participation trophies disguised as engagement rings finally threw the trophies in the trash where they belonged. And it's not just emotional isolation, it's financial. The average unmarried woman in her 30s now has a negative net worth. Negative. That means she owes more than she owns. Student loans, credit card debt from brunch, and vacations she posted on Instagram, car payments on a vehicle she can't afford, all of it piling up while her income is either stagnant or about to be replaced by AI. And for the first time in her life, there is no safety net. No dad to call and cry to for money, no boyfriend to move in with and split rent, no husband to sign the mortgage she can't qualify for alone, no government program that can keep printing money forever. She's standing on a trapdoor that's already creaking, And the only people who used to hold it closed just walked off to go live in Thailand for $1,500 a month. I want you to think about how insane that reversal is. For 50 years, women were sold the ultimate con. You can live like a child forever. Someone else will always pick up the tab, and anyone who tells you different is oppressing you. And now the tab is here. The adults have left the restaurant, and the kids are looking at a bill they can't pay. And their reaction isn't to grow up, it's to scream louder that someone needs to pay it for them. That's why you're seeing article after article with headlines like "Women are struggling to find partners who meet their standards," translated from feminist, "I refuse to date men in my league and now I'm alone." Or "The rise of the lonely single man is a myth," translated, "Please pretend men still care so I don't have to change." Or my personal favorite, "Why are men so intimidated by successful women?" Translated, "Why won't men with options date me when I'm 34 with 3 kids and a positive debt to income ratio?" And every single one of those articles ends the same way, with a call for men to step up. Step up and do what exactly? Step up and volunteer to be the bailout for decades of bad decisions. Step up and marry the woman who spent her 20s riding the carousel and now wants a beta provider to fund her golden years. Step up and pay taxes for a government that criminalizes masculinity. Step up and risk false accusations that can end a career with one tweet. Step up and get divorce graped in family court where the judge openly laughs at the idea of men's rights. Nah, we're good. Men tried stepping up for 50 years. Now we're stepping back, stepping aside, stepping over, and in many cases, stepping on a plane to a country where women still smile when they see a masculine man walk into the room. Because that's the part nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone already knows. The men who still have the drive, the resources, the masculinity that women claim to want are leaving. They're going to Colombia, Thailand, Philippines, Eastern Europe, Mexico, anywhere that still has femininity, gratitude, peace, and reasonable prices. And the women there are welcoming them with open arms, literally and figuratively. These men are getting younger, prettier, kinder, more traditional women who cook, who clean, who actually like men, who don't have podcasts about how all men are trash. And they're doing it while spending a third of what they would in the West and being treated like kings instead of criminals. And the Western women who spent years calling these men predators for wanting a feminine woman are now making videos asking why those same men won't come back and save them from the consequences of their own ideology. That's poetic justice on a level Shakespeare couldn't have scripted. And here's where the story gets darker, because the panic isn't just private anymore. It's going public, it's going viral, it's showing up in government offices and corporate boardrooms and university lecture halls. And every single institution that spent the last 3 decades cheering on the Future is Female parade is now quietly whispering, "Houston, we have a problem." Let's start with the birth rate, because nothing terrifies a modern government more than watching its future tax base disappear in real time. Every developed country on earth is now below replacement level. Japan, South Korea, Italy, Spain, Germany, Canada, the UK, and yes, the United States. All of them are in free fall. The US fertility rate is sitting at 1.62 right now, the lowest in recorded history and still dropping. That means for every 100 women, only 162 babies are being born when you need 210 just to keep the population stable. Do the math. In 20 years, we lose almost a quarter of the population. In 40 years, we lose half. In 60 years, we're looking at civilizational collapse numbers. And who is driving this collapse? College educated women in cities. The exact demographic that was told, "Kids are a burden, marriage is a trap, men are obsolete." They listened. They're not having children. Many of them physically can't anymore. The average age of first birth for college educated women is now pushing 34, 35, 36, and fertility doesn't negotiate with your vision board. Governments are now openly panicking. Hungary is paying women to have babies. Poland tried it. Italy is running ad campaigns begging women to reproduce. South Korea just declared a few months ago, announced they're throwing hundreds of billions at the problem, and the birth rate still fell another 8%. Why? Because no amount of government money replaces a man who is willing to stick around for 18 years and pay for the whole ride. Women know this on a biological level, even if they'll never say it out loud. They will not have children with men they do not respect, and they do not respect the men who are left in their countries because the men they might have respected packed their bags and went to places where respect still exists. Now, watch what happens when the tax base collapses at the same time the welfare promises explode. Old people don't vanish when the birth rate tanks. They just get older, sicker, more expensive. Social Security, Medicare, pensions, all of it was built on a pyramid scheme that required an ever expanding base of young workers paying in. That base is gone. By 2035, the Social Security Trust Fund is empty. By 2040, Medicare is bankrupt. Who was counting on those programs the most? Single women, the same women who spent 20 years screaming, I don't need a man, I've got the government. Well, the government is about to send a very expensive text message that says, new phone, who dis? And it's not just retirement, it's everything. Schools are closing because there aren't enough kids. Hospitals are shutting down maternity wards. Entire towns in the Midwest and rural Europe are turning into ghost towns because the young men left for better opportunities and the young women realize too late that no man equals no family equals no future. The silence is getting loud. But let's zoom in even closer because the personal stories are where this really hits like a sledgehammer. I want you to picture a woman. Let's call her Ashley because that name is statistically accurate for this story. Ashley is 33 years old. She has a master's in strategic communications and a job title that has the word equity in it. She spent her 20s living in a big city, dating apps on rotation, sleeping with the top 5% of men who would never commit to her, posting, my standards are high and non negotiable memes, while racking up 40,000 in credit card debt on bottomless brunch and girls' trips to Tulum. She has a tattoo in white ink that says empowered on her rib cage, and another one that says never settle on her wrist, both of which now feel like cosmic jokes. At 29, she decided she was ready to settle down, which translated to she wanted a man who makes 200,000 plus, is over 6 feet tall, has hair, has abs, has no kids, has emotional intelligence, has a passport, likes her cats, will pay her debt, and will never ask her to cook or stop going out with her friends. She dated for 4 more years and didn't find him. Shocker. Now at 33, she's on new medication for anxiety. Her eggs are quietly retiring without telling her. Her rent just went up another 22%. Her company announced restructuring, and her entire diversity team is on the chopping block because the new CEO looked at the budget and asked why they're paying 14 people to send emails about pronouns. Ashley is waking up at 3 a.m., sweating, scrolling through Instagram, looking at her old college friends who married boring guys at 24 and now have 3 kids, a house, and a husband who fixes things when they break. And for the first time in her life, Ashley is feeling something she was never prepared for: regret. Deep, stomach eating, can't breathe, wish I could go back in time regret. And Ashley is not rare. Ashley is legion. There are millions of Ashleys right now staring at the ceiling, realizing the life script they were sold was written by people who hated them. Not hated men, hated them. Because anyone who actually cared about women would have told them the truth. Your value in the sexual marketplace peaks in your 20s, your fertility has an expiration date that doesn't care about your career, and treating men like disposable utilities will eventually make them treat you like a disposable utility right back. But nobody told them that. Instead, they were told, you can have it all, just later. Later became never. And now the same media that sold them the lie is selling them coping mechanisms. Freeze your eggs for 20 grand a cycle, adopt a rescue dog and call it your baby, go to Bali to find yourself, date younger men who can't afford you either, write articles about how marriage is a tool of the patriarchy, uses to control women, while secretly crying in the bathroom at your cousin's wedding because the bouquet landed 3 feet away from you and you still dove for it like it was a live grenade. And the worst part? Even now, even after all of this, most of them still won't change. They'll double down. They'll say men are the problem until their last breath. They'll say the system failed them instead of admitting they broke the system by removing the one ingredient it cannot function without: masculine energy willingly given. Because admitting the truth would require humility, and humility has been bred out of them by a culture that told them self reflection is the same as self hatred. So they cope. They get more cats. They get on SSRIS. They start OnlyFans at 36 and make $400 a month before taxes and tell themselves they're entrepreneurs. They write long Facebook posts about how love will find me when I'm ready, while love is currently on a beach in Colombia getting cooked for by a 24-year-old who thinks he's the greatest man on earth because he is now the only man in her world who isn't trying to sell her a course on manifesting abundance. And the men who used to be their orbiters, they're gone too. The guys who would have wifed up Ashley at 24 when she treated them like dirt are now 35, jacked, debt free, with a remote business and a passport full of stamps, dating women who look like Victoria's Secret models and act like 1950s housewives. Those men didn't die. They didn't give up. They just relocated their effort to places where effort is still rewarded. The supply of good men didn't disappear, it moved, and it's not coming back. That's the part that keeps women up at night more than anything else. It's not just that they're alone, it's that they're alone while watching the men they rejected live better lives than they ever offered. There's a special kind of pain in seeing the guy you ghosted in 2019 now engaged to a feminine woman half your age who worships the ground he walks on. There's a special kind of torture in realizing the loser who wanted to take you on a real date is now somewhere posting pictures with a woman who cooks him dinner and never calls him toxic. Every time a man levels up and leaves the plantation, he unknowingly drives a knife a little deeper into the illusion that kept the whole system running. And a million little knives add up to one big wound that no amount of therapy or wine or girls' nights can close. And now the wound is starting to bleed in places nobody can hide anymore because the consequences are no longer private TikTok tears in a ring light glow. They're showing up in emergency rooms, in crime statistics, in mental health wards, in the cold fluorescent hallways of family court buildings where women who once bragged, "I took him for everything," are now standing in line for food stamps, while the man they destroyed is 2 states away, lifting weights and sleeping 8 hours a night for the first time in a decade. Let's talk about what happens to a society when half its population has been told their entire adult life that consequences are something that only happen to men. You get a generation of adult women who genuinely believe the universe owes them a lifestyle in exchange for existing. And when the universe finally sends the bill, the reaction isn't responsibility, it's rage. Rage at men for not paying it, rage at the government for not printing more, rage at reality itself for having rules. You see that rage every single day now. It's the woman keying misogynist into the side of a Tesla because the guy driving it didn't look at her. It's the viral videos of women throwing drinks in men in bars for saying hello the wrong way. It's the HR complaints filed because a male coworker dared to have a calendar with a swimsuit model on it in 2025. It's the new trend of rage applying to jobs they're not qualified for and then claiming discrimination when they don't get hired. It's the sudden explosion in shoplifting makeup and designer handbags because if the world won't give her the status symbols she was promised, she'll just take them. Target and Ulta are losing billions a year now, and the security footage overwhelmingly shows one demographic: The same demographic that spent years telling men your money doesn't impress me is suddenly willing to risk jail time for a $90 blush palette. And when the consequences do finally land, when the eviction notice shows up, when the car gets repossessed, when the SSRIs stop working, and the therapist says, I think we've reached the limit of what weekly sessions can do, that's when the real darkness creeps in. Female suicide attempts have tripled since 2010. Not completions, men still own that tragic trophy 4-1, but attempts. Because attempting is a scream for someone to come save you. And for the first time in 50 years, nobody is nobody coming. The white knights got tired of being called rapists for offering a jacket when it was cold. The simps woke up and realized paying a woman's bills doesn't make her like you, it makes her comfortable while she waits for someone better. The dads who would have once co signed the bailout are either don't have the money anymore or finally learn to say no after watching their sons get destroyed in the same system. So the scream just echoes, and it's echoing louder every month. Women's homelessness is the fastest growing segment of homelessness in every major Western city. The pretty little influencers who used to film get ready with me videos in 900 square foot apartments paid for by a tech bro they call Dusty are now filming day in the life videos from the backseat of their leased Kia that just got repossessed, talking about how they're living minimally now while the camera shakes because the engine won't stop knocking. The same women who once posted men will be fine, they have each other, are now discovering that men actually do have each other. Gym crews, crypto groups, motorcycle clubs, overseas brotherhoods, men's retreats, fishing trips, fight clubs, all of it built in the last 5 years while women were busy building empowerment circles that dissolve the minute the group chat drama starts. Men built parallel societies, women built group chats. One of those things survives a collapse. The other becomes a graveyard of unread messages and inside jokes nobody laughs at anymore. And here's the part that almost makes me feel bad. Almost. A lot of these women genuinely never saw this coming because every authority figure in their life lied to them. Teachers lied, professors lied, politicians lied, media lied, their own mothers lied because many of their mothers were the first generation to buy the lie and didn't want to admit it didn't work. Everybody kept saying, You're perfect exactly the way you are. Never change, never compromise, never apologize. The world will bend. And for a little while, it looked like the world really was bending. Men were quiet, taxes were high, simps were plentiful, diversity hires were mandatory. It felt like the new rules were sticking, and until they didn't. Reality is the ultimate undefeated champion, and reality just stepped back into the ring with a steel chair. The craziest part is that even now, even as the floor is falling out beneath them, most women still won't course correct in the way that would actually save them. They won't apologize. They won't lower their impossible lists. They won't learn to cook. They won't delete the dating apps and try church or dancing or meeting men in real life like human beings used to do. They won't swallow the pride and send that message to the guy they ghosted in 2021 saying, Hey, I was wrong. Can we talk? Because that would require admitting fallibility. And fallibility was the one thing the ideology never allowed them to practice. So instead, they radicalize. They go harder into the story that men are the enemy. They start identifying as 4B or female separatists while secretly crying themselves to sleep because the vibrator doesn't pay the electric bill. They write long threads about how they're choosing to be single while refreshing Hinge at 2 a.m., looking for a man who meets 27 bullet points and doesn't exist outside of a Marvel movie. They call it self partnered, the way a drowning person calls the ocean a really intense swimming pool. And all the while, the men they claim to hate are living lives that would have been considered royal luxury 2 generations ago. A 3,000 square foot house on 5 acres paid in cash, a truck that runs, a dog that loves him, a bank account with 6 figures in it, a passport with 30 stamps. a body that doesn't hurt when he wakes up, and zero female drama in his phone. He eats what he wants, sleeps when he wants, travels when he wants, and the only person he has to answer to is the man in the mirror who finally respects him. That's not a fantasy. That's the new baseline for millions of men who simply refuse to play a rigged game. And the women who rigged the game are now standing in the stadium alone, wondering why the lights went out and why nobody stayed for the after party they spent 10 years planning. There's a cold satisfaction in watching natural law reassert itself. Not because anyone wants suffering, nobody with a soul celebrates pain, but because truth has a way of purifying things. The lies are burning off, the illusions are collapsing, and what's left standing is the only thing that was ever real. Men will build, men will protect, men will provide, men will love, but only when it is earned, respected, and reciprocated. Remove those three ingredients, and men will withdraw, not out of spite, out of self respect. And self respect, once discovered, does not negotiate with chaos. That's the lesson the West is learning the hard way in 2025. You can shame men for a season, you can tax them for a decade, you can demonize them for a generation, but you cannot remove their nature forever. And when they take their nature back, they take everything that was built on it with them: the families, the homes, the safety, the civilization itself. All roads lead to MWA. Men walking away didn't just save individual men, it's saving masculinity itself from a culture that tried to kill it, and the slow torture of ingratitude. And now we come to the part nobody wants to say out loud, but every man watching this already feels in his bones. This is not going to get better. It is going to get worse, much worse. And it's going to get worse faster than any of us imagined even 2 years ago, because the collapse isn't coming, it's here. It's happening in slow motion right in front of our faces, and the only people still pretending otherwise are the ones who spent the last 30 years telling everyone the party would never end. Look around. The grocery store is turning into a luxury experience. A cart of basic food for a week now costs what a car payment used to cost. Rent in any city with jobs is higher than most mortgages were in 2005. Car insurance is up 60% in 3 years. Health insurance deductibles are now measured in five figures. And wages, flat or falling in real terms for 80% of people. The only thing that's actually going up is the number of women on dating apps changing their bios from looking for my person to entrepreneur, digital nomad, healing my inner child, six figures or bust, no hookups, don't message me if you can't match my energy. Meanwhile, the men who used to be desperate enough to lie about their height and income to get a reply have stopped lying. They've stopped replying at all. They've stopped showing up. They've stopped caring. And that silence is louder than any protest march ever could have been. I want you to understand the scale of what's happening. In 2025, the average man under 35 has more disposable income, more free time, more peace, and more actual power than any generation of men in recorded history. He's not rich by old money standards, but he's rich in the ways that matter. He owns his time, he owns his attention, he owns his body, he owns his future. And he's using all of it on himself and the small circle of men he actually trusts. He's not lonely. He's quiet. There's a difference. The average woman under 35, she's poorer, more anxious, more medicated, more indebted, and more alone than any generation of women in recorded history. And she's just starting to figure out that the girl boss script she was handed was a suicide note written in glitter ink. And the gap between those two realities is widening every single day. Every day, another 10,000 men delete the dating apps for good. Every day, another 5,000 men move their money into cold storage and out of banks that fund woke nonsense. Every day, another 1,000 men book a one-way ticket to a country where femininity still exists. Every day, another 100 men decide to never get married in the West. Every day, another 50 decide to never have children in the West. Every day, another 10 decide to never even date in the West again. That's not a trend, that's an exodus. And an exodus leaves behind a desert. The cities are already becoming female heavy wastelands. Go to any major downtown on a Friday night now. The bars are 70 to 80% women in groups, taking selfies, doing dances for TikTok, complaining that there are no men. The men are at home or at the gym or on a video call with their boys in Thailand, comparing notes on how cheap the steak is. The men are not hiding. They're just done performing for an audience that spent a decade booing them off stage. And the women left behind are starting to do the only thing they have left: bargain. You see it in the sudden flood of videos with titles like "I was too harsh on men." Maybe traditional gender roles weren't so bad. I'm open to paying on the first date now. I frozen my eggs so we can take our time. I learning to cook for my future husband. Translation: the asking price just dropped off a cliff and the inventory is suddenly willing to negotiate. But here's the brutal truth: most men aren't buying, not because they're bitter, not because they're scarred, but because they've seen behind the curtain. They know the changed woman act only lasts until the ring is on the finger and the joint account is open. They know the I learning to cook videos are filmed in apartments with ring lights and dirty dishes in the sink. They know the sudden interest in traditional values is coming from the same women who spent 2015 to 2023 calling those values oppression. Men aren't stupid, men learn. And the lesson has been learned at scale. The market has spoken. The price of entry into a man's commitment, protection, and provision is now permanent femininity, permanent respect, permanent loyalty, permanent gratitude, and permanent accountability. Anything less, and the answer is no. Not maybe. Not let's see how it goes. No. And most Western women can't pay that price. They don't even know what it looks like anymore. They've never seen it modeled. They've never practiced it. They spent their formative years being told those traits were weakness. So even when they try to fake it now, it comes off like a bad actress reading lines she doesn't believe. So the standoff continues. Women waiting for men to lower their standards again, men waiting for women to raise theirs for the first time ever. And in the middle, a civilization quietly suffocating because the two halves that are supposed to fit together no longer even speak the same language. And that's where we are in 2025. And that's where we're going to be for the rest of most of your lives. This isn't a phase. This isn't a correction. This isn't something that gets fixed with a new president or a new app or a new social movement. This is the new equilibrium. Men have peace. Women have panic. Men have options. Women have copes. Men have brotherhood. Women have wine nights that end with everybody crying in an Uber. And the longer this goes on, the more permanent it becomes. Every year that passes calcifies the new reality a little harder. The men get richer in time and money. The women get poorer in youth and fertility. The gap grows, the resentment grows, the distance grows, until one day you wake up and realize the war isn't between men and women anymore. The war is over. Men won. Not by fighting, by leaving, and women lost everything by thinking men would never have the courage to walk. But we did, we walked. And we're still walking. Every day another man joins the walk. Every day another man discovers how good life is when nobody is yelling at him for existing. Every day another man looks around at his quiet apartment, his growing accounts, his healthy body, his loyal dog, his passport, his peace, and he smiles the smile of a man who finally understands the game was rigged against him until he simply refused to keep playing. That smile is the future. That peace is the future. That freedom is the future. And no amount of crying TikToks, no amount of viral rage threads, no amount of government incentives, no amount of shaming language is ever going to drag men back onto the plantation. The chains are broken and the fields are empty. And the masters are standing in the big house alone, ringing the dinner bell and wondering why nobody comes running anymore. And the answer is simple: we found a better table and we're never sitting at the old one again. So, to every man watching this, keep walking, keep building, keep lifting, keep stacking, keep traveling, keep laughing, keep living. The life you were told you had to earn by sacrificing everything for people who hated you is yours right now just for refusing to give it away. And to every woman who's finally starting to feel the cold, the door isn't locked from the outside. You can still walk through it, but the price went up, way up, and the clock is loud. The choice is yours, but the choice has always been yours. It's just that for the first time in 50 years, nobody is going to make it for you. What did you think about all of this? Do you agree? Are you seeing the same things in your city, your friend group, your family? Drop a comment below and let me know because I read every single one. Like the video. If this hits you in the chest the way it was supposed to, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell because this channel is one of the last places on this platform where men are allowed to hear the truth without a content warning. Share this with every man you know who needs to hear it because the more of us that wake up, the faster this new world gets built. And just remember, all roads lead to MWA. Men walking away isn't just a movement, it's the rest of your life. Cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.